Oh, so yeah, we got another essay story we're gonna have to get into. So we got to talk about Sum 41's Deryck Whibley. I don't know if y'all heard this story, but he actually has a memoir that's coming out. I'm like, damn, everybody is getting into memoir business. You know, somebody's actually been saying that I need to write a memoir, but I don't feel like I've lived. Well, I have lived a lot, but I don't know if I've lived enough where y'all, where I need to write remember one of my producers said that I should do that, former producers. But so Deryck Whibley is opening up about how he was groomed and SA'd by his ex-manager from back in the day, because they've been making music. Sum 41 came together in like the mid-90s. That I believe they're actually coming up on their 20s. I think they've been around for like over 25 years. And they mentioned that they're disbanding after this new album and the tour. So yeah, on the left you have Deryck, and on the right, you have the manager, the ex-manager. So Sum 41 frontman Deryck Whibley has alleged in a new memoir that he was abused for years by the Canadian rock band's former manager. So the manager's name is Greg Norrie, and he basically said that he SA'd him in his explosive new memoir. Now, Whibley, who's 44, alleges that Norrie, who's now 62, and the frontman of Canadian punk band Treble Charger. I didn't even know he was a musician, but I did see pictures of him floating around. So I'm like, wait, is he a musician too? He also, I've seen that was mingling around with Ludacris, because I've seen a couple of pictures with him and Ludacris in it. So I'm wondering, was he also Ludacris's manager? And if Luda knew some things. So Norrie, who, yes, is the frontman of Canadian punk band Treble Charger, groomed, manipulated, and SA'd him starting when he was 18 and Norrie was 36. Whibley began working with Norrie, the band's first major manager, when he was 16 in the late 90s, and claims in a new memoir, Walking Disaster, My Life Through Heaven and Hell, that Norrie encouraged him to take drugs before abusing him for the first time in a restroom at a rave. In excerpts obtained by the LA Times, Whibley writes, Greg had one requirement to be our manager. He wanted total control. He couldn't talk to anyone but him because the music business is full of snakes and liars, and he was the only person he could trust. The musician alleges that he was 18 and intoxicated at a rave. Norrie asked him to come to the bathroom and drop another hit of ecstasy. I'm going to say an E-pill. He claims Norrie then grabbed his face and passionately kissed him, with Whibley walking away stunned. He writes that he had never thought of Norrie like that, and claims Norrie told him that while he had never experienced same-sex attraction before, Whibley brought it out of him because what they had was so special. He was so relentless and convincing that after a while I started to believe that maybe he was right. And this is what Whibley writes. Whibley's book claims that as weeks went by, Norrie allegedly tried to convince him to explore their connection because so many of my rock star idols were queer. Most people are bisexual. They're just too afraid to admit it. Now, as Sum 41 popularity grew, they traveled more and more, with Whibley feeling relieved at the distance between him and Norrie. He said when he returned home to Ajax, Ontario, Whibley also claims that he attempted to end his physical relationship with Norrie as he was not gay or bisexual. So he basically just went on and continued with the situation because this was, I guess, when he was young, he didn't know no better. And on top of that, it's like, yeah, when you're doing drugs and you're a rock star and people are, people who you look up to that are mentoring you and grooming you in so many ways, and you're young, you don't know no better, and you're eager and you're becoming famous and stuff, a lot of people can be easily manipulated into believing certain things. But this is a grown behind man who knew what he was doing. He saw Deryck. He was trying to get his hooks into this boy. And Deryck, say what you want, but he is a good looking guy. So I could definitely see like why, this energy about him that exudes sex appeal. Whether you think he's attractive or not, there's an overall sexiness to him. And I think there's also a bit of sexiness when it comes to being a rock star. So yeah, it's like when you're growing up, you look up to, I don't know who these gay or bisexual rock stars that Norrie or Greg, whatever you want to call him, was referring to. I'd say drop some names. We know Rob Halford from Judas Priest is an open homosexual. We know the lead singer from Queen, may he rest in peace, Freddie Mercury, was a gay man. They tried to throw it up as bisexual, but he was a homosexual. There's a lot of artists out here who are fluid. They don't talk about it, but yeah, in the rock world, there's a lot of that goes on. Trust me, I've been to many a rock shows and have slept with many a rock fans. I've been to Ozfest. I've been to a Manson concert. I've been to a Disturbed concert. And trust me, there's a lot of hot guys at those concerts. Which is why I like going to them. You know, some of the little frat boy types. Oh, y'all, child. Now, the nasty sex I've had with some of y'all. On that pent up tension. But anyway. So in the book, he claims that Nori called him homophobic and responds and listed reasons Whibley owed him for his music career. Don't this sound a lot like the band that was this very much sounds like the same beats that we got from the Quiet on Set docuseries, where Drake Bell was groomed. And then when the father had the gut feeling about the man that was preying on his son, oh, you're just homophobic. And it's like, no, you are a predator. And I don't want, like I said before, with the whole thing with Diddy and that woman that allegedly made up the fact that she was abused, and then the bodyguard came and was like, why this broad got my name in her mouth? First of all, I ain't never worked for that man when you was allegedly abused at the time. So I don't know why you dragged me in your situation and said I did something to you too. So when you have something like that, it is sort of like you literally went and preyed on this young man who's just trying to be a rock star and thinking that I have to listen to you in order to get where I am. And you have a lot of these people. I don't want people to start thinking that this narrative, lazy narrative, that all gay men are like this. We don't go around preying on people. There's some, unfortunately, in this industry, a lot of predators who prey on the young and the innocent and people who are naive. And he got taken advantage of. Like I said, Deryck, I don't know what his height is, but he definitely gives me like, you know, he's someone who just eager. And he's a little skinny old thing. And then, like I said, he exudes a type of sex appeal. And apparently this man preyed on him. He also said that he told me this was all my fault to begin with because I should never have said yes to it in the first place. I started this and now he wants it with me, so I couldn't just stop. Well, you gave in because, like I said, he was young and naive and probably just thought, well, you know what, if I do this thing, then maybe, I don't know what his reasons are, but a lot of people have their reasons for why they do certain things. And also when you're under the influence of drugs, a lot of times people will do things against their will. And you use drugs and brainwashing and grooming and all this stuff as a way to manipulate this kid. And now that he's willing to stand up for himself and not give you what you want, now you want to go, oh, what you was going along with it before, you want it. Why are you trying to stop what we were trying to do? So you as a grown man should know better. And he also claimed in the book that Nori finally stopped initiating sexual encounters with him when a mutual friend learned of what happened, with the unnamed friend telling Whibley and Nori their relationship was abuse. Whibley said that he had first been in awe of Nori, who he first met when he sneaked backstage at the Treble Chargers show and invited him to an early Sum 41 performance. Nori gave the emerging star his number. Before long, they were speaking on the phone for hours, and Nori was allegedly buying a still underage Whibley and bandmate Steve Jocks shots of Goldschlager. So that's what it was. It was like, you know, here's this kid who looked up, child, it sounded like some Justin Bieber Diddy stuff. This kid who was looking up to this guy was unaware of his intentions. And it's like, this is why they always say never meet your idols. So he snuck backstage. He wanted to meet this guy, and this guy's using his being older or whatever the case is to buy this kid's affection. Oh, so if I buy you liquor and you're underage, and if I do these things for you, now you owe me. So you had preconceived intentions from the beginning. So he also said that Whibley had spoken openly about his battle with alcohol addiction, and that which started after the 2001 release of the band's album All Killer No Filler. He constantly toured for more than a decade and drank heavily to cope, dealing with a lot of his past traumas, of course. But we all know that self-medication doesn't fix the problem. It's just a temporary Band-Aid until that wound, you know, gets too big that there's not a big enough Band-Aid in the world to cover it. He also claimed that Nori controlled how often the band members would speak to their parents, telling the Times he tried to keep them away all of the time. Now it makes more sense because he was the same age as our parents, and we didn't know that at the time he knew they would get suspicious of the way things were running. He would always be like, you can't have a relationship with your parents and be in a rock band. It's not cool. It's going to hurt your career. Whibley writes that after their sexual relationship ended, Nori began abusing him verbally and psychologically. He claimed that Nori would alternately praise him or berate him and turn the rest of the band against him by claiming he had gone Hollywood due to his romance with his girlfriend at the time, turned ex-wife, Avril Lavigne. And speaking of Avril Lavigne, he was the one that he actually spilled that abuse situation too. And she's like, you're being abused. He also dated Paris Hilton during the height of the sex tape situation. He talks about that in the book too. But this ain't about Miss Hilton. This is about Deryck and what he's going through. So if y'all want to read that part, you could definitely pick up the book and read that. So the In Too Deep hitmaker said he never told anyone, not even his bandmates, about the alleged SA, but he did tell Avril during their 4-year marriage from 2006 to 2010. He writes the memoir that Lavigne exclaimed and told of when told of the alleged abuse. She said, that's abuse. He SA'd you, with his current wife, Ariana Cooper, responding in the same way. Now, Whibley claims that Nori, who also produced some of the band's songs, would insist on a songwriter credit on most of the songs, claiming the music industry would take them more seriously if his name was down as a co-writer. Meanwhile, you were a producer, so how are you getting a credit as a writer? That didn't make no sense to me. So yeah, this is the book. It's actually out right now if you guys are interested in getting your hands on it. And yeah, I even had to throw a picture of him up there with his ex-wife, Avril Lavigne. I had totally forgotten that at one point they got married. Why does she look scared? He looks all, relaxed and like, yeah, take the photo. And Avril looked like, it's like, why are you get this camera on my face? But anyway, let's go back to this picture. Because we up here trying to promote people books and things. We do that on this show. Maybe I need to do like a Chris's book corner. So it said in 2018, Whibley and he sued Nori over allegedly taking some of his most lucrative songwriting credits, with Whibley winning back the songwriting share of the band's publishing credits. Whibley writes that he tried to get his bandmates to fire Nori, citing time management issues and allegedly showing up to the band show High on E, but the band refused. Nori was fired in 2005 after album Chuck was released. Now, Nori has not responded to repeated requests for comments from the publication. Whibley also told Rolling Stone about his decision to reveal the alleged abuse for the first time, saying, quote, I always thought that I would take this to my grave and I wouldn't say anything. As I started getting into the book, I felt like, how could I not be honest? I went through a long period in my time where I didn't think about it anymore. I came to realize it was self-defense. I came to realize later on that I didn't want to think about it or have any feelings of being a victim. I didn't want to have the victim issues. Now, to this day, Whibley does not recall the alleged incidents abuse in his memoir and said he's still in the early stages of processing it. Well, yeah, there's like, a lot of times when it comes to men and abuse, a lot of times we don't want to, men do not want to deal with that type of situation. So they suppress it. And it's like, yeah, you're going through the process of dealing with a lot of that abuse. And I'm glad that the first step was admitting that it happened. Second step was putting it in the book as a way of catharsis, of getting it out there, releasing it. And then third is now you have to spend the rest of your life in therapy, going through those traumatic that traumatic situation, realizing that it was not your fault or what happened to you, that this man took advantage of you, that this man took your kindness for weakness, that he preyed upon you, that he abused you, that he groomed you. And now that you are a man in your early 40s, you can work through that process. And I'm so glad now that there's so many young men who have been abused in the 90s and stuff have come to this conclusion in this day and age where we're speaking out more about young men who have been abused. From the Menendez brothers and that whole situation of we're finally coming to the terms of accepting the fact that yes, men can be abused, whereas in the 90s and the 2000s, it was unheard of. You got laughed out of the room if you spoke about stuff like this. So I'm glad now in 2024, we're accepting the fact and we're speaking on these things because, Gen Z and everybody are all about your feelings now. And that's the one good thing I'll take away from that is the fact that, yeah, we're all about expressing our feelings and coming to terms and dealing with a lot of our traumas head on. And I love that. So, so kudos to you, Deryck, for coming out and speaking out on this whole situation. Now, I should also say this. If you are some 41 fan, there's him with his current wife. I want to show you all that. And that was from her Instagram, Ari Whibley. Pretty girl. She kind of reminds me of Natalia Kills. And yeah, there was another picture. But also he put out this because apparently they're breaking up after damn near 30 years together. It said, being in Sum 41 since 1996 brought us some of the best moments of our lives. We are forever grateful to our fans, both old and new, who have supported us in every way. It is hard to articulate the love and respect that we have for all of you, as we wanted you to hear this from us first. Sum 41 will be disbanding. We will be finishing all of our current upcoming tour dates this year, and we're looking forward to releasing our final album, Heaven X Hell, Heaven and Hell basically, along with a final worldwide headlining tour to celebrate. Details will be announced as soon as we have them. For now, we look forward to seeing all you scum fucks. Oh, come on now. That's what y'all call your fans, like the Beehive and the Rihanna Navy and the Barbs. So we call them scum fucks. I actually like that. On the road, and we're excited for what the future will bring for each of us. Thank you for the last 27 years of Sum 41. And kudos to y'all. You know, kudos to Deryck for coming out and speaking out on the stuff, and that they're still out here making music. But he also said, I should point out, just to wrap this up, he basically finished off by saying, I'm dealing with it for the first time and I don't know what to think about it. I can't deny that it was very manipulative, but I didn't realize what a lot of this was. It didn't dawn on me until it hit the age he was in his mid-30s. When I was a teenager, he was a hero to see that power. So to see that power dynamic, you see how you can manipulate a 16-year-old kid. He says he was inspired to reveal the alleged abuse after Ariana, with whom he shares 2 children, detailed a past suicide attempt in a joint 2021 interview, saying, I felt the importance to just be open. He also sent the memoir set for release it's out already, to his bandmates, saying he became kind of a bad guy to all of us. We all collectively never spoke about him. Now, last year, Sum 41, I already talked about they're taking a break and all this other stuff. So I'm glad that he came to this conclusion. You have to realize in the times, like in the 90s, this wasn't something we were talking about. We weren't talking about abuse. The internet wasn't what it was back then. So it was easy to groom, manipulate. And we weren't, you didn't have no way to look up, if I was abused, what are the signs that we have to look for. Now, y'all, the world's an oyster. It's open season where you could do the type of research you need to, and it's all out there for grabs. So I'm glad that now, it's like he said, it took me in my 30s for me to realize that I was being abused and this happened. So kudos to him for coming out and speaking about this. And I hope the book does well. And I hope you get to go and do the whole, circuit where you get to promote it and you get to talk openly about being groomed and abused, because I believe this is a story that definitely more people need to come out and speak out on, especially, and we need to start taking abuse of boys more seriously. So I say all this to say, what do y'all think of this story? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments down below.